So this is, some of you have seen my stuff back there already, and you're like, oh, we're going to do a book it. It's a review game that we do in school. So I was like, well, I'll bring you into my classroom, into Mr. Seagrave's government classroom for a few minutes here. And we're kind of at the end of the quarter, so we're actually going to play a review game, and we'll see how this goes. It could be a complete disaster. It might work. I don't know. I'm not sure. So if you want, pull out your cell phone, go on your web browser. I know some of you are lost right now. Some of you are not tech savvy, and that's okay. Just in your minds, play along. I thought Larry Johnson always pulls out a pop quiz on us. So I was like, well, I'm going to do a real pop quiz here. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to play.blookit.com, and it's going to ask you to enter the game code, and it's going to be 6612003. And then it'll ask you to make up a name. I don't think I have to say this in here this morning, but when you make up your name, make sure that I got to make this disclaimer in my room, in my classroom. Make sure it's an appropriate name that's not going to get me in trouble, right? So make sure your name is appropriate. It doesn't matter if you use your real name or you, whatever, initials or make up something funny. I don't know. Make sure it's appropriate, right? No, it doesn't matter if it's capitals or not. It's play.blookit. It's book it with an L in there, blookit.com. Yeah, and it'll say the game code or the game ID, I think, the Blookit ID, which is that 6612003. And then we'll pull up the web browser here. It'll come back up here in a second. There we go. There we go. There's your names. We got a sleepy person in here. We got John McCarthy in here. Not very creative, John. All right, if you're lost right now, it's okay. Well, we're going to play this. It's going to be a quick 10-question review. And oh, I forgot my Smarties. I have Smarties. I bought a bag of Smarties and I left them at home because at the end I'll owe you. I will owe you. I will bring you Smarties if you're in the top 3. I will bring you Smarties next week. At school, I also have Dum Dums, the little suckers. So I give Smarties and Dum Dums, right? So, all right, we got 44 people in. All right, okay, we'll go ahead and play this because I've actually got content to cover here as well. So, all right, Lance, if you want to go ahead and hit start on there for me. Uh-oh, here we go. So it's going to be on your phone. It'll just be a question. There you go. Who is this person? I offered a more acceptable offering than my brother. Who is that? And just click the color on your phone. Speed, accuracy and speed. So it'll pull up here in a couple of seconds some of you guys are really, really fast and then others are not. There we go, 34. If you're one of the 2 or the 1 that got it wrong, that's okay. Oh, there we go. I love church. That was fast. All right. This person didn't see death. They were taken and didn't see death. All right, there we go. .89 seconds. See, the track coach in me, I like the speed part of that, right? You can actually see how fast people answer the question. And sometimes I've got a big, long question on there, and they answer it really fast. It's like, how in the world did you answer that fast? This person was told about a natural disaster. Oh, 100%. There we go. All right. Sue's in the lead right here. Nice, Furby. Left my home and lived in a foreign land. So most of these people we're seeing on here are the topics we've had over the last couple of months in our study of Hebrews 11. Oh, teacher's pet. There we go. I looked at Brandy and she gave me the nod her head no, not her. Oh, we got some cheaters over there. Uh-oh. There we go. Joseph, definitely not Joseph. Or Moses. Help the spies escape from Jericho. All right, not Furby. Gave directions about the Exodus and moving my bones once I died. Who was that? Seems like we know our content a little bit better than my class knows their content a lot of times. A lot of times we're down there in the 15, 20, 30% range on the right answers. I left luxury in Pharaoh's household and encountered a burning bush. All right, two left. Two questions left. I received strength from God. Ooh, Daniel's a good answer, but actual strength. Mr. Zerfus, I see you over there. I see you over there. Joe L., thanks a lot. Last question here. This guy was able to stop the mouth of lions because of his faith. See who our top three are. Ooh, go. And the winner is, okay, who are my people here? Brandy, you want to note these people for me? So I know who to give Smarties to next week. They're on the counter. They're literally on the, who's BC? All right, Brock Coleman, there we go. Who's Furby? Okay. That brings some questions. That's okay. And nondescript. All right, Rebecca. All right. There we go. I owe you guys. I'll bring you Smarties next week. All right. All right, Lance, if you want to go ahead and get over to the PowerPoint for me, get to the actual content here. Okay, so obviously we're going to continue our discussion of Hebrews 11 and faith. Oh, where's my slide? That wasn't supposed to come up yet. Uh-oh, I'm missing. There we go. All right, so what are some things that faith leads to? Anybody tell me one or two word answers here? Hopefully don't have to get the mic out. One. Okay, action. What kind of action?
Action.
Okay, there you go. Faith leads to action. What else does faith lead to? Obedience. There you go. Courage. Okay. Okay, there you go. Eternal life. All right. So here's the answer. I heard the answer. So obedience, right? Faith leads to action and obedience and all those things, right? So that's what we're going to look at this morning. And my slide came up that we saw. So what are we studying this morning? We're going to study about Noah, Noah's Ark. There you go. And so that's what we're going to study this morning. So kind of reviewing over the last few days, the material here and rereading all this stuff, there was a lot of things that I had forgotten about and a lot of different, details that I either hadn't really realized before or hadn't ever thought about before. Okay, but let's think about this. Let's think about the action here. Action was a good word, but obedience. What are some actions in the Old Testament? I know we could pretty much just list all the people in Hebrews 11, but what are some actions in the Old Testament that are taken as a result of faith? Anybody think? Again, just quick answers here. What are some actions in the Old Testament that people take as a result of their faith? Yeah.
Enoch. He walked with the Lord for 365 years.
Okay.
And God took him. He didn't see that.
Okay. Walk with the Lord. What else? Yeah. Okay. Got to have a lot of faith to do that, right? You're promised that your son is going to be the future of the Lord's kingdom, and then the Lord tells you to kill him, right? That's a weird command, but he does it. He's willing to do it, right? He doesn't do it, obviously, but he's willing to do it. What else? What's another action that's taken in the Old Testament as a result of faith? Yeah. Okay, Abel making his sacrifice. What else? Okay, yeah, there you go. That's where we're going, right? Building the boat, obviously, right? Okay, so yeah, that's our ultimate, at least this week, the ultimate example of, faith leading to action. So think about, just kind of think about that as we go through here. So let's start off with our text here. We're going to start off with our text over in Hebrews 11, 7. All right. Here we go. It says, by faith, Noah, being warned by God concerning events as yet unseen, in reverent fear, constructed an ark for the saving of his household. By this, he condemned the world and became an heir of righteousness that comes by faith. So this is where we're going to spend most of our time this morning. We're going to look at this verse and we're going to break it down into basically the three parts of the verse here. So the first part is going to be where we're going to spend most of our time, obviously, because it's a lot of stuff, right? So this first part right here, so again, by faith, if you notice the verse here begins with by faith and it also ends with the words by faith. So obviously very important to the context here is faith. By faith, Noah being warned by God concerning events as yet unseen. So he doesn't know what's coming. He doesn't exactly know what's going on. He's just told by God that something is going to happen, right? And then as we go through here, in reverent fear, constructed an ark for the saving of his household. So what was he exactly warned about? And again, we can go to different places in the Old Testament here. to anywhere in Genesis chapter 6, I think 6, 7, 8, and 9, and read some different parts of this. But we'll read one verse here from Genesis chapter 6, verse 13. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. So he's basically told, I'm going to destroy the earth, right? I'm going to destroy the earth, everything on it, okay? And so that's what he's told. I mean, think about your reaction if you're told that the earth will be destroyed, right? The earth is going to be destroyed. And, that'd be quite the, quite the shock to get told that, hey, I'm going to destroy the earth, okay? So what is he exactly commanded to do? Obviously, he's commanded to build the ark. Okay, well, we'll look at some details here about this. So over in Genesis chapter 6, verses 13 through 14, that's where we can find the description of what the ark is supposed to look like or to be, right? And I've got some comparisons here in the next couple of slides about how big the ark is, and it's pretty shocking when you think about the size of the ark. But here's what he's told. I kind of broke it down here into so again, this information is from Genesis chapter 6, verses 14 through 17. So he's going to build it with gopher wood, and he's going to cover it inside and out with pitch. Okay. The size, the dimensions, 300 cubits by 150 cubits by 30 cubits. And did some research on what is a cubit, and the common answer to a cubit is one of two things that I've heard, either about 18 inches, or you hear about from the elbow to the fingertip, right? I didn't get a tape measure out this week and actually measure, by the way, but it's about that long. I read another place where they were talking about that it's in the 20-inch range, so it's anywhere in that, so a foot and a half, right? About a foot and a half. So we'll kind of look at some size comparisons here in just a second. Okay, and then you think about just a boat that's that size, right? Just a big, huge boat that's that size. And then he's told to make 3 levels, right? I don't know about you guys that are in the construction business, but got levels and all the structure that goes to that. It can't just be, you got elephants in this thing and giraffes in this thing, right? So it can't just be a poorly built structure. Then it's supposed to have rooms as well, right? So there's some pretty specific structure that's supposed to go into this, okay? So just for some comparisons here, when I looked up, I just Googled some comparisons here, and some of the information, has anybody ever been to I think it's called the Ark Encounter? Anybody been there? It's down in Kentucky. A couple of you have. All right, so some of the information I got was from their website, right? So just some of the graphics here and stuff. So this is the first one I found, is the comparison of the ark to, I don't know why they picked things that fly versus things that float, but this is the graphic I found, right? And so anyway, the Space Shuttle Challenger, most of us are fairly familiar with the Challenger. And again, I was like, oh yeah, I remember, I was in, I think, 5th grade, and we all were over in Mr. Briggs' classroom. We were all sitting on the floor and watching this thing go up, and we'd read articles about this teacher, the teacher in space program that was going to happen. And I remember we watch it, and you're 5th grade, so I don't know how old that is, maybe 10 or 11 years old, and you watch this thing explode, right, on live TV, and it's, wow, that wasn't supposed to happen, right, go down that way. But I remember watching out. But anyway, that's 184 feet. Versus, again, how many cubits was it? The 300 cubits is around 510 feet, somewhere in that range. Okay, and then the SpaceX Starship, not familiar with that necessarily, so I Googled it and looked it up and found some information about it. It's obviously SpaceX, this private company. Who is it? Elon Musk? Okay, so it's Elon Musk and his company and stuff, and it looks like they've failed so far. But there's still some testing going on and all that stuff, right? So it's still hopefully at some point gonna work. But anyway, it's about 400 feet long, and so again, Noah's Ark is bigger than that. Okay, but again, things that fly versus things that float. I thought that was kind of an odd comparison. So here's a ship that we're all pretty familiar with, right? The Titanic. Okay, we know about the Titanic, and we've seen that, or not seen it, obviously, but maybe seen the movie or learned about it at some point in time. I got to assume the graphic is wrong. If you notice, the width up there is 2 feet for the Titanic. I'm thinking that might be wrong. So I'm hoping the other stuff is correct, but I'm not sure. So anyway, but it's a cool graphic that I found. So anyway, you're looking at how big is the Ark versus the Titanic, and the link there is the one that caught my attention there, the 450 feet. Again, the other one said it was 510 feet, so again, not some dispute there on how big exactly a cubit is. But 450 feet versus 882 feet, so pretty big, right? It's about half the size. It's about half the size of the Titanic. But again, you're talking a steel ship versus a wood boat. You're talking about relatively modern technology in the pre-World War I or somewhere in that range. Not up on my Titanic history, but versus obviously Old Testament biblical times. And you look down there, the provisions, the capacity was kind of interesting. 3,500 people, and it had provisions for 3 weeks versus 8 people, right? Noah and his family, his sons and their wives and his wife, and then about 50,000 animals. I don't think I'd ever thought about insects before, right? But this had put insects on there. So I'd think about, you get a fly in your house and it kind of bugs you a little bit. Not sure if they were enclosed rooms for the insects or what exactly, or if Noah just had to deal with the insects. But that's a lot of insects, right? 2 million insects. Again, not sure exactly where that number is from. Okay, but just a comparison there. So another comparison I thought of was a cruise ship, right? A modern day cruise ship. So how big is a modern day cruise ship? I've never been on a cruise myself. Not going on a cruise ever because I get seasick when I do go on the ocean for deep sea fishing. So not going to risk that one, right? But for those of you who have been on a cruise ship is about 1,000 feet long. Okay, so we're talking 1,000 feet long. And my mind, as soon as I start talking about large lengths, my mind either goes to a football field or a track, right? So the 400-meter track, I did the math this morning. 400-meter track is about 1,300 feet. So you take the oval track around the football field and you stretch it out into, that's how long, almost how long we're talking here for a cruise ship. So Noah's Ark, you're talking about a football field and a half, right? So just some comparison here. Why does that matter? Well, it doesn't matter, but it does matter because Noah's told, build this ark, right? Build this ark, and you got to have a little faith, right? You got to have a little faith to proceed to build this ark. We think about Sarah's reaction when she's told she's going to have a baby. She laughs at God, right? She laughs. I have to think in my mind, what is Noah's reaction? What's his reaction? All right, where does he live? I looked up this morning, where does he live? And best guess is potentially Iraq. Think about building a huge ship in Iraq. There's never been rain before. There's never been a flood. And you're going to build a ship in Iraq, right? So another thing that I found was, how long does this take? How long does this take? And I forgot to write down where this information came from. But again, this is it doesn't ever say how long it takes, but there's some things in there that basically talk about like the, 600 years old, he's 500 years old. So some different things in there. But basically 50 to 75 years, somewhere in that range, to build the ark. And again, back up to the ark encounter. When I was watching a video from the owner of that, he talked about his building the ark replica, and talked about it took them 2 years to build the ark, the replica of the ark, and it had pictures of obviously modern machinery and cranes, and it looked like a lumber yard, right? A huge lumber yard worth of lumber. So you got to think about where did Noah get all this lumber, right? Where did Noah get enough lumber I saw another graphic that was basically the board feet, how many board feet did it take to build this thing? And it was a graphic from the location in Kentucky where the Ark encounter is, whatever interstate it is, it goes up to like Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia in that area. It was basically saying it was that long, like that many feet of wood, right? Then it was like 1,200 or 1,300 feet, board feet of wood or something like that. That many trees, so it's a lot of trees. So another thing that we look at here with the verse, going back to the verse, let me flip back a couple of slides here to get back to our verse. There we go. It talks about in reverent fear, he constructed an ark. So that in reverent fear kind of caught my attention there a little bit. So the word reverent means respectful. So we hear about, you fear God, maybe you fear your father, maybe it's literal fear with your father, potentially, hopefully not, but maybe. Hopefully more of the respectful feeling there. But Noah does this out of respect for God. So he listens and does what he's supposed to do here. All right, so what is he motivated by fear exactly to do? So what are some things, again, think about the thought process here and what goes on. Okay, he's living his life. Not sure exactly what he's doing, but he's living his life, going on with life, and he's told about the flood. He's told about this flood that's going to happen, and he's told to build this ark. So he's got to drop whatever he's doing, whatever he's living, whatever's going on with his life, he's got to stop, right? He can't continue to just move on with life and do his thing. I mean, you're told to build this massive ark, and you're going to have to stop what you're doing, change your life, right? His entire purpose of his life changes at this point. So he's gonna have to stop and build the ark, right? He's gonna have to gather the tools and supplies. Probably doesn't have the tools in his garage laying around where he's gonna be able to build this ark, right? So he's gonna have to, whatever tools, whatever supplies he needs, he's gonna have to gather those things. So again, that's gonna be a major encounter for him to have to undertake. And then the other thing here is persevere through opposition, doubt, and challenges. So again, think about this. We see somebody today. You're driving down the interstate in Idaho, and you see somebody with a huge, monstrous boat, right? Too big for Lucky Peak, like a boat that would go in the ocean. Well, we can drive to the ocean, right? You think about, you take a few hours and you drive to the ocean, and you get there. So you see a boat that's out of place, right? You see a boat that's here in Boise that's an ocean-going boat that's out of place, but it's like, okay, it's going to get to the ocean, right? But again, he's building this boat in the desert that's huge, and he's telling his buddies, right? I've got a verse here in a minute that'll tell it that kind of is proof that he's telling people about what's going on. And again, think about the reaction of them, right? They're laughing at him, scoffing at him. What in the world are you doing, man? And, God told me to build a boat. So he's building this boat, right? So he doesn't quit. He doesn't stop what he's doing. He just keeps on going, right? He keeps on going and it eventually succeeds in his task. But again, imagine the friends and the people who saw the boat, and they're asking him all the questions about, what are you doing, man? So he tells them about rain. Hey, there's rain going to come. Well, if somebody tells you there's rain going to come today, you're like, oh, rain. Okay, cool. We've seen rain. We've seen floods. We've seen hurricanes. We've seen this. Think about that time period. We're told that it had never rained before. It had never flooded before, right? So he's telling them that, the water's going to be so high. Again, you're in the desert, right, in Iraq, basically, or somewhere close to that. And it's going to rain. It's going to rain so hard. It's going to flood so much that that the water's going to be to this level, and the water's going to take the ark, and it's going to be in the water, right? We're going to be completely. Somebody says that today. Well, it's going to flood. It's going to rain really, really bad. It's going to flood, right? Maybe if you're down the road in Eagle, right, down there in the floodplain or whatever, it might flood down there. But somebody tells you, you're up a little higher, and somebody tells you, it's going to flood, and you're like, it's not going to flood, right? You tell them my house is going to flood, not going to flood, right? And those are the kind of things he has to deal with, right? But he perseveres through that. He's got faith to persevere through that. So let's look at the next section of the verse here. It says, by this he condemned the world. So what does it mean to condemn? It means to punish, sentence to punishment, right? Sentence a certain kind of punishment. And a lot of times that's considered, the punishment is death, right? So condemning the world. So why is death appropriate in this situation? Okay, so let's take a look at a verse here that gets us into, what is the situation that the world is in at that point? Is it just bad people? Think about how it compares to today, right? We live in a society today that is, we would consider largely ungodly, corrupt, not very good, a lot of sin. You see what people are doing in the world today, and turn the TV on, and you see so much negativity and evil and all that stuff, right? So when you read the verse here that talks about Noah, the situation in Noah's time period, I'm not saying in 2023 the world is good by any means, but I don't think it gets to this level, right? It doesn't get to this level. So let's take a look at this verse here. So in Genesis chapter 6, verse 5, it says, the Lord saw the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. So what does that describe? Right? Think about what exactly does that describe. And a couple of sections there trying to jump out at me a little bit about how bad things are then, right? So you think about this. Every intention. Doesn't say most intentions. It doesn't say most people. Every intention, right? According to that, and then this one here, only evil continually. Only evil continually. So those are a couple things that tell me that, today you've got, people that maybe they don't go to church, or they're not church-going people, but maybe they do good stuff, right? Maybe they do nice things, right? But that right there tells me every single intention of man is evil, right? Only evil continually. That's all there is. Right? And Noah is the one guy that he's not perfect, and we'll look at that here in a few minutes. He's not perfect by any means, okay? But that's not Noah, right? That's not Noah. So the society we live in, a lot of times we think it's, bad and horrible. And again, it is. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff out there. There's a lot of things that are going on in society today. They're like, what in the world is that? How did we get this far off track from, where we began to where we are now and all that stuff, right? We see that. But again, I don't think it compares anywhere to that. So again, I kind of jumped ahead of myself there a little bit, but how does that compare today? And I don't think it does. I don't think it compares to today necessarily. And again, not saying that we're perfect today or good by any means at all. But again, I think society gotten so far off track. I didn't write down this verse, but it basically, God regretted that he made man, right? He literally regrets that he makes man. So he's questioning, his own. That's kind of an interesting thought about God questioning himself a little bit there. But that's in there. So why Noah? Okay, why Noah? Why is he the one that ends up getting saved in this situation? Again, he's not perfect. He commits sin. He does some bad stuff. He makes some bad choices. But here's some words that describe Noah in Genesis chapter 6, verse 9. There's three things here that describe Noah. It said Noah was a righteous man. Okay. It says Noah was blameless in his generation. I thought that tag on right there was kind of an important tag. Blameless in his generation. So again, not sure if that means he was the best guy that there was, or if it means that he was really good, or exactly what that means, but he's blameless in his generation. So maybe Noah himself is not a very good guy, but he's the best that there was, right? So not sure exactly, but that's kind of what it talked about. But then this third piece right here, it says he walks with God. He walked with God, okay? And think about that. Does that describe you? If God were going to describe Joel Seagrave's, righteous and blameless and walked with God? I sure hope so, right? I sure hope so. So, all right. So again, during the time period when he's building the ark, what is Noah doing? Is he building the ark and he's sticking to himself and he's doing his thing and he's not talking to anybody? Or is he actually talking to people and spreading the word and people are asking him what's going on and he's sticking to his own business and he's keeping his head down and he's doing his thing and he's not telling anybody? I don't think that's the situation. I think the situation is he's telling people. When people are like, why are you building a boat? I think he's telling people. I think he's telling them what's going on. I think he's telling them about what's going to happen. Okay, and the reason for that is over in 2 Peter 2:5, it says that Noah, herald of righteousness, and then it goes on from there a little bit. But herald, looked up the definition of herald, it's messenger. He is a messenger of righteousness. So him being a messenger of righteousness tells me that he's probably telling people when they ask him, why are you building the ark? Why are you building this? What are you doing? And he's probably telling them what he's doing and why he's doing it. Okay? And we can assume that they're probably not changing their ways. At that point, could God have changed his mind? Maybe. Okay, had he already decided what he's going to do and he's not going to change no matter what? Not sure exactly. Doesn't say that, right? Doesn't indicate that for us. But again, Noah's not perfect. Okay, Noah's not a perfect man. Noah's not perfect. So we can read later, and this one, the description here doesn't give us a lot of detail. Not sure we want the detail of what he does later. But in Genesis 9:20, so this is after the flood, he leaves the ark. And he moves on with life. It indicates that he becomes a farmer, right? He becomes a farmer. He becomes a man of the soil, I believe is what it says. And he grows grapes, and he has a vineyard, and he drinks the wine, and he gets drunk, and then it basically talks about him being uncovered and his sons covering him. Again, it doesn't get into what that is exactly. But we can assume it's probably not anything good, right? So he's not a perfect man. So God picks a person, again, those top things describe him, even though he's a sinful person. He does some bad things. He does some wrong in his life. So just kind of something to think about. We're going to make mistakes and we're going to sin and we're going to slip up here and there with different things. But again, God can still find those words up there to describe a person as righteous and blameless and walked with God who is going to make that mistake in the future. So, all right, let's take a look at the last little bit of the verse here. Again, I'm trying to find what this exactly means, and I read 2 or 3 different things, and I found 2 or 3 different interpretations. So, not exactly sure what this means here, but it says he became an heir of righteousness that comes by faith. Again, the key there is that, at the beginning of the verse it says by faith, at the end is by faith. So that's a really important piece here, obviously, as we find this over in Hebrews chapter 11, in this hall of heroes, this hall of faith. But became an heir of righteousness. So what does that mean? Okay, and the thing that I kind of found that this is talking about here is that Noah did what he did, right? Incredible things. Not sure if he built the ark by himself. It never really indicates that. It doesn't, did his family help him? Did he have a construction crew that helped him? It never really indicates either way on that. Comparison I saw was that, who was it? Who built the temple? Solomon, thank you. There you go, Solomon. There's a verse that says that Solomon built the temple. Well, did Solomon single-handedly by himself build the temple? I don't think we can't assume that, right? So when it says that Noah built the ark, I don't know if he built it by himself, single-handedly, with the crew, with his family. Not sure exactly. Again, doesn't matter, otherwise it would tell us that. But here's a couple things that we do know for sure, right? Noah did incredible things because he had faith in God, right? He's got faith in God. And then the other thing too is God has grace towards him. So those are a couple things that we know for sure. He has grace towards mankind. He's got grace towards Noah's family, obviously. So God could have, destroyed everybody and everything and just said, going to start all over from scratch. But he doesn't. He saves Noah and his family and the 8 people the 8 people all together. So that's our verses for this morning. That's our one verse for this morning, is looking at Noah. But I do want to make a quick application to this. So what are some things we can learn from this? So first of all, what I've got here is that faith is not a superhuman power, right? Faith is not superhuman. Noah seems to be just a guy who's doing fairly good stuff, who's doing the right thing most of the time, right? He's not, he's just a person, right? A bunch of different stories that we have from Hebrews 11, those are just average people who have faith and they do miraculous things, right? So faith is not a superhuman power. Faith is something that you can have. Faith is something that I can have. So we should take courage in that. Faith is a choice. It's a learned behavior, right? It's I talk all the time. Brandy probably hates it when I make a choice to make today a good day, right? There's a sign in our bathroom that she made, actually. There's a sign in our bathroom, and it says, today is a good day to have a good day. Is that the sign? Today is a good day to have a good day. You see that sign, right? Today is a good day to have a good day. You make today what bad things can happen to you, but how are you going to react to that? And again, apply it to faith. We make a choice to have faith. Things happen, you have faith, right? So it's a learned behavior. And it's one of those things that we can be a faithful individual because of a choice we made, a long time ago. So it's a learned behavior. And then the last thing is, here's a big one. We talked about our current culture a little while ago, but think about this. Faith is going to put us at odds with our current culture, right? There's things in our current culture that we don't support, right? We can't support as Christians. And when you voice those opinions, it's going to put you at odds with your current culture, right? And think about that a little bit. When you have faith, there's going to be temptations, there's going to be things that we encounter, and it's going to put you at odds with your culture. Think about Noah again. He's building this ark out in the middle of the desert. It's going to put him at odds with the people around him. They're going to make fun of him. They're going to ridicule him. Man, you go to church on Sunday morning? What is wrong with you? What in the world? Go do something on Saturday night that, isn't so good. Well, what's wrong with you? Everybody else is, you're a weirdo. You're not doing that stuff. It's going to put us at odds with people, but we have to have the courage to stand up to that. So, this brought me to another thing quickly here to end with, is over in Matthew chapter 17, verses 20 and 21. I don't know how often this has been referred to during our faith class, but that's where it talks about the faith of a mustard seed. A little bit of faith goes a long ways, right? A little bit of faith can help you move mountains, okay? So there you go. As we go through the week, have faith and be like Noah and build an ark. So thank you. Appreciate it.